Okay, so this is something I didn't know I would be back online so quickly. I thought it would be finished for like maybe a few days. Because I'm not the one to have something to talk about every day. That's for people with monetized channels. Okay. But I just happened to scroll through my YouTube, like suggested videos. And I used to watch Dee Dee, the Dancing Dolls, when it used to come on Lifetime. I don't know if anybody ever heard of it, but it was called Bring It, and it came on Lifetime a few years ago. I don't know when the first episode aired. I don't know. It might have been 2016 or something like that. Maybe 2016 when the first episode aired, or 2017. But this is the second dancing doll, I would say, within a year or two that has been killed in a deadly shooting. I'm familiar with the first one. I forget her name because she wasn't shown. She wasn't like the main stars on the show. Like, it's a reality show, and I actually seen her dance in competitions. But her parents wasn't one of the main stars. Like you would see Kayla and Sanjay and the twins. Star and Sky, and who else? Cameron and the other girl, start with a T. They start with a T. No, Christiana, not a T. Her name was Christiana, and some other ones. But it's a few other ones too, right? But this one, I haven't heard of her much, but I have seen her a couple of times on the show. So that's the one I heard that was killed in a deadly shooting. I think it was like maybe last year when I heard about that. And now I just happened to look through my YouTube feed, and then it's like a video posted. It was posted about a month ago about another girl from DD4L, Dancing Dolls for Life. That was killed in another shooting. And here's what I want to say, because this is kind of, it's not disturbing to me. I find it to be, at this point, sad. And this is what I want to say, and I'm not going to feel bad about saying it. I know cost of living is hard, and I don't have children. But for me, I can't risk my daughters staying in these neighborhoods anymore. I don't care about the black community that much. There's too many girls that's getting shot, and boys too, right? And boys too, because but this, I'm talking about the dancing dolls, and that's why I was looking at the girls. But innocent boys get shot too. And it's like, you don't owe enough to the you don't owe the black community, your children, if they can't control these freaking gangsters. You don't owe the black community your children. You don't owe them babies. You don't owe them anything if they can't control these crimes and these gangsters and these drive-by shootings, and innocent people keep getting shot. Okay, if you get pregnant with a black child or whatever you want to call, I don't like to really call them black, but people like to use black. You don't owe the black community your child. You don't owe they call you a sellout because you don't want your children being around their crazy behinds. At this point, I don't care how I sound. I'm tired of, especially these young, beautiful ladies that's talented, that's in the Dancing Dolls for Life. Okay, they got a future ahead of them. They working towards a future. They being productive. They work hard, practicing dancing. Here they go getting shot in drive-bys when they about to go to college. You don't owe the black community, at this point, you don't owe the black community your child. I don't care if it's a boy or girl, because I'm not discriminating against no boys either, because when I did home health, where would I go? It was actually in LA, not far from where I stayed in Inglewood. But the city was just Los Angeles. Like, I think the zip code was 90043, right? So it's just Los Angeles, right? But it was still surrounded by South Central and Inglewood and all those other areas. So anyway, and it was a decent middle class area though. Like, it was a decent middle class area, but still surrounded by some hoodlums. Okay, hood boogers, what people like to say, hood boogers. I don't care. I don't care about these hood booger stories. I don't care about their harsh upbringing. I don't care if their mother or father never loved them. I don't care. You don't owe the black community your child so they can get shot and eaten. These children are being consumed. They're being consumed. So I'm going to tell the story. When I did a home health visit in LA, a woman was telling me the story. A woman I was treating. I'm an occupational therapist. I said that before, but I'm an occupational therapist. I was doing home health occupational therapy, and I was doing therapy in somebody's house with a lady in her house. And she was telling me about her son. And she was talking about how her son, please listen to your sons. I mean, I know people talk about the girls. And you know what? I feel like the girls still get ignored. I know people say, oh, you always talk about the girls, but nobody talk about the boys. People do talk about the boys, but they always victimizing boys. So maybe they should have a different conversation about boys. Because when they talk about the boys, they always afraid of the police going to shoot they behinds. Or they talking about being dead or in jail before the age of 17. Maybe talk a little bit more positive about the boys, because people talk about the boys a whole lot. But it's always negative and scary and victimized. But anyway, I'm sorry, it's late. And when it gets, my nose is stuffy. But so she told me that her son kept talking about how he was being bullied to join the gang, right? Either Crips or Bloods, right? Because that's popular gangs in LA. So either, I don't know whether it was the Bloods or Crips. I'm leaning towards the Bloods, all right? And he kept saying no. And he kept telling his mother, told me this story. He kept telling his mother that he was afraid that he was going to die. They threatened to kill him if he don't join. They threatened to kill him. I don't know why sometimes these mothers, I mean, she's probably full of regret now, and I don't think she's ever going to forget the decision she made to not listen to him. She probably listened to him, but she didn't take him too seriously. Something is going on, but let me finish the story. So one time she sent him to the store. Now, I think he might have been 12, 13 years old. She sent him to a corner store to get whatever that she wanted. Next thing she knows, she hears of a shooting and a young teenager was killed. A teenager was killed. She found out it was her son, because he didn't want to join the gang. I'm sorry. If I cannot afford, and I know people get pregnant and you can't just reverse it. A lot of those women don't get abortions. I know that people like to put all these abortions on brown women. I think that's more brown women in upper class neighborhoods, because these particular brown women in these communities, I don't think they get that many abortions. They're children. And it's almost like it's more children that's getting killed than there are abortions. Maybe people should talk about that. People so worried about brown women getting abortions, but I think it's more children being killed in the inner city than there are abortions anyway. Shoot. If I can't afford to put my child in a better environment, forget any loyalty to the black culture. I don't care about loyalty to them. They can't manage to stop these kids from getting killed in shootouts. I don't owe any community that cannot control the crime rates. I don't owe them anything. I don't know why people want to hold on to this culture. I don't know why. You hold on to your children and not the culture. The culture is why the children keep dying. I'm talking, you know what? I got neighbors that's close. I don't want to talk too loud and it's late at night. And I don't think this lady, this mother, I don't think she's ever going to have rest. I don't think she's ever going to have peace. I don't think this lady, and the reason why, yeah, her son was killed, but I think the reason why she's not going to have peace is because she sent him out to that store. And I'm not hopping on her case. I'm not going to do that. But I think that she's not going to have peace because she sent her son to that store after he repeatedly said that they are threatening to kill him. I don't know what happens where sometimes the mothers don't take their children, what they say, seriously. There was a lady, I was treating her mother. This is also LA. Where was it near? It's like near Crenshaw Boulevard. But it wasn't, it's on the west. If you're familiar with the Los Angeles, it was on the West Boulevard, not far, like maybe a street over from Crenshaw Boulevard. Okay. And I was treating her mother because this was the daughter I was speaking to. Brown lady again. And she was talking about how these gangsters will wait at the school bus for these children to get off the school bus, I guess, as they are coming home. And as the children were getting off, this is a story she told me. As the children was getting off the school bus, these gangsters, these hood boogers, would shoot these kids in the freaking face as they were getting off the school bus. I don't know if any arrests ever happened. I don't know what the school bus driver did. I don't think she never told me that much. But you know what her response was? She said, girl, yeah, I just pray. What you praying for? What you praying for? What are you praying for? Let me tell you something. There are white Christians. There are Asian Christians. There are Christians pretty much everywhere. But I'm going to tell you this much. Ain't nobody going to sit and just pray as their children keep getting shot in the freaking face when they're getting off a bus. Especially white folks. Ain't nobody gonna sit around and pray and wait for something outside of themselves to take care of their children if their children keep getting freaking shot. But the brown community keeps saying pray as these hood boogers kill their children. They keep saying pray. They keep saying pray. They don't take action, they just want to pray about it. White folks wouldn't do that. I hate to compare, but something is wrong where the children are not, their lives are not taken seriously, it don't seem like. Because in any other community where you got some hood boogers killing children and shooting them in the head as they getting off the bus coming from school, most communities ain't gonna have it. And the last thing they're gonna talk about is, child, we just gonna pray. No, they gonna take some action and somebody gonna get hurt. Them hood buggers, these men, these patriarchs of these other communities, they gonna find those hood buggers and they gonna execute their behinds. That's what they gonna do. I don't even think these other patriarchs gonna even wait on the police. I think they're gonna find these hood buggers and execute their behinds. Something is wrong where kids just get killed and folks so worried about abortions. Black women should stop having abortions. Why? They can't protect it. Let me stop. Because it's women that have children that's mama bears over their kids. So I ain't trying to put this on everybody and every parent. It's some parents out there they'll hurt somebody over their kids. Okay, I do realize that. But in these communities, in the hood, something is going on where the children's lives aren't taken seriously. Too many of them are getting shot. But they wait for a white man to shoot a black man that's unarmed, and then they want to go get crazy. But something is happening where the children's lives aren't taken seriously. This wouldn't be happening in other communities. You can't have a bunch of children getting shot by hood boogers like that, and the parents and the patriarchs don't take it seriously, and the mothers don't take it seriously. Something like, it was a mother, I don't know if it was started by a white woman or who it was started by, but her son was killed by a drunk driver, and that drove her to start this thing called MADD, M-A-D-D, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, right? Or drunk drivers, whichever one. All it took for one lady's son to get killed in an accident when somebody else was driving drunk. That's all it took. And they formed this thing called MADD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Could have been a black lady, but I believe it was white. But if it was a black lady, that's fine too. I'm just saying, it don't take all of that for these other communities to get serious about stuff. A Jewish community. Now, somebody else told this story. Somebody who used to be on YouTube told this story. About something happened. I don't know if it was in a Jewish community. I don't know if they got hit by a car or if they got shot in some kind of, because of some kind of criminal activity. Oh, yeah, it was some kind of criminal activity that happened in a Jewish community where a little boy was killed. It didn't take more than a week, and I realized that Jewish people had got more resources, but I can't keep making them doggone excuses because over the years we have seen the brown people do what they want to do and they accomplish what they want to accomplish. We've seen that over the years because, how much money actually brown people have a lot of spending power. That means that they could accomplish a lot because they have a lot of spending power, right? So the lack of resources is just an excuse when you have that much spending power, okay? But in the Jewish community, it didn't take them more than a week to put up a bunch of cameras and stuff to have surveillance around a community. So if criminal activity happened, you're going to see who did it. It didn't take them more than a week to get that done. Something is going on in the brown community where the children's lives just aren't taken seriously. And at this point here, I get that it's hard to afford appropriate housing. This is why I am not for brown women getting pregnant right now. This is why I'm just not for it. Because it's becoming too hard to even find a decent place for you to take care of yourself. I am totally against brown women getting pregnant unless she is stable. Unless she is able to put her child, boy or girl, in a decent community where there's not a lot of crime. Right at this point, I'm against births of any more black children until they figure out how to get their children in better communities. I don't know. It's like you don't owe these gangsters. I don't care about their stories. I don't care. You know? And now some people might live in these neighborhoods and have their children and their children survive. Okay. But some children don't survive. Okay. And it's literally like a 50-50 chance a person, probably worse than that a child can survive in the hood. Most of these boys are afraid they're going to die before they turn 18. And the girls get shot too. It's like that now. Everybody was fussing about George Floyd and Black Lives Matter was all going crazy. But I've been known that was a setup. I never was into Black Lives Matter because once I learned it was run by George Soros and funded by him, he funds wars, okay? And I think he's Jewish. You know, the Jewish run the NAACP too, I believe. Anytime they're over something, it's for their own agenda. So ever since I found out he was behind it, I never cared about Black Lives Matter. I never supported it after I found that out. But a lot of brown people still want to support it because they like being emotional. I'm not perfect. I ain't going to judge it, but they like being emotional. So they don't care what crook is behind the funding of this. They just see brown people doing something and they get emotional and want to get involved. But, yeah, like when George Floyd, that thing that was reported about some guy named George Floyd, because I ain't about to think nothing is real at this point, where they want to put that stuff all over media. Because on Facebook, there was a doctor that actually reported on the real George Floyd, and the guy that was on camera, he was trying to say was a fraud. But guess what? Facebook took down that man's video. I bet you they did that. So you never know what you're looking at. Okay, but there was a little girl in the brown community, 9 years old, I believe that was her age. I think she was shot while she was doing homework. What do brown people say about that? So there is a lack of concern for children's lives. Not to say the mother wasn't upset, but I'm just saying the brown community all around, it's like the priorities a little messed up. You crying over grown men, don't know who they are. A lot of times they have criminal backgrounds, but kids keep getting shot every day, and it does not seem to be an outcry. I do not hear an outcry from the brown community when it comes to these kids being killed like this. And that's why I'm saying that at this point, these parents do not owe the brown community their children. If their child is unsafe in these brown communities, in these brown neighborhoods, then they have every right to take these kids where they'll be safe. And I realize it's hard to afford to go places, but your child is in danger. And if the child survives living in that community, they just survive. But some kids, a lot of them don't. I'm not going to say a lot, but some of them don't survive. Too many of them get caught in drive-bys. So it's like, at this point, it's time to be okay with somebody saying you got self-hate, because that's what the brown community likes to do. Let me call them the black community. Let me just go on and call them the black community, okay? They want to be called black, I'm going to call them black. At this point, you should just be okay. And when I say you, I'm speaking in general. I'm not just really, speaking about anybody specific. But at this point, you should be okay if somebody wants to accuse you of having self-hate because you refuse to allow your child around this black community that does not seem to value the lives of their children, but they act like they so against abortion, yet it seems like more children are getting killed in drive-bys and shootouts than there are abortions anyway. Okay? There's more little girls and boys getting molested, it seems like every hour and every minute, than there are abortions. The kids ain't, it's like, but anyway. It's hard. Some people have financial problems where they can't get out because a lot of them, they trying to pay most of the bills on their own. But for the ones that can actually get out them communities, you don't owe the black culture your child. Like, you do not owe the black culture your child. And the black people, because I'm going to call them black people can't seem to see what the problem is. They can't seem to see what the problem is. So you're accused of having all this self-hate. You're accused of thinking that you're better than other black folks. You're accused of all this stuff because you don't want your child getting shot up in the hood. I would go far as say don't send them to no black schools. Black private schools are okay. I remember a black private school. I think that was a little better than black public schools. Black public schools, because I've been to public schools. I don't like them because those kids act like you owe them something. You better not have money and have your child go to a black public school, because if a lot of them kids come from poverty. I experienced this growing up in Tuskegee, Alabama. A lot of those kids come from poverty. And then when they see that your child come from a little bit of money, they're going to feel like your child owes them something, because I have lived that every single day when I was in public school, high school. I lived it every single day that kids were upset that my parents had decent incomes. I'll put it like that. They were upset. They hated me for it. And if you decide to do something nice for them and give them something, the only thing they're going to do is like tossing your pearls to swine when it comes to them. I experienced that too. They don't appreciate nothing. appreciate nothing. They mad at you for coming from money, and then when you try to share a little bit that you have with them, they will trample over you and they will resent you even more for even helping them. Because it's not that they necessarily feel like you owe them something. They got this extreme negativity and hate that's in them that I can't explain it. It's like they'll never like you. They'll never like you. And this is just in public schools. Now, I don't know what they turn out to be when they grow up, right? I don't know what they turn out to be when they grow up and they become 35, 40, and 50. Obviously, might not be the same as they are in high school, but sometimes they are. But I'm done talking because I did not know I was going to upload anything. I did not think I was going to upload anything this late. But I just ran across that thumbnail about this other girl from the Dancing Dolls that was shot again it shot in some kind of crossfire, I guess. It was like those beautiful girls got their whole life ahead of them. They work hard, they dance, they practice. A lot of things that's on their mind is dancing and maybe, dating and boys because they're young girls. But for the most part, I watched the Dancing Dolls on Lifetime when it used to come on Lifetime. And those girls work hard. They practice a lot. They work hard. So most of that girl that was killed and the other girl, their life was mostly just dancing because they work hard. I saw it on every reality show. They practice a lot. And her life was taken because she was in a black culture. I don't like the black culture. I don't like it. I never did like it. People didn't like me. I never liked it when I was in high school. When I got out of high school, I never liked black culture. I grew up in Tuskegee. People would, I know this is not going to be a nice word, but they were niggerish. No, that's not a nice word. But there's no other way to put it. And it's like, I never liked it. I never liked it. I told people I did not like the black community. People thought I was wrong for saying that. But once again, we keep getting back to the fact that the black community can't see themselves, but I realize other communities can't really see themselves either. But this is bad because, see, like with the white community, people complain about racism, white supremacy, and all this stuff. But when it comes to the black community, it's like their children are being eaten up. Their children are being eaten up. The black community is very toxic and parasitic. And I didn't like it. I grew up, and it's probably worse now, men thought it was okay to slap you on your butt. Men would just holler at you. It's almost like, but this is in the South too, where men are far more rude. I lived in Tuskegee, Alabama. I lived in Cleveland, Ohio. And I lived in Los Angeles for 10 years. And after that, I just moved across California, but still not too far from LA. No more than maybe 120 miles, right? But still across Southern California. And it just seems like in the South, men were the most rude. And when I say the most rude, they be like, hey girl, hey girl, hey girl, hey girl, hey girl. You can be driving behind them, and if they see a woman that looks attractive, they will slam on their brakes and yell at that woman from the car, and you will be about to ram them from behind. And they're pushy. It's other men that's pushy too, because women get raped all over. But what I'm saying is, it's something about them in the South where they are they just have a more rudeness to them. Because these men all over the United States could be brute, right? But it's something about the Southern ones they really out their mouths. Yeah, it's something else about them, right? Uh, and that just turned me off from the black community, and people thought I was wrong for that. And it's like, oh, you sadiddy or bougie or whatever they want to call it. I hated that, not being called bougie or whatever. They thought I hated myself because I didn't like the black community. I didn't like black culture. I didn't like black culture. It was too disrespectful towards women. And then they don't, it's almost like a lack of concern when children are scared for their lives. And it seems like it doesn't matter. They just get shot anyway. I've seen that growing up, and I'm Generation X. I'm Generation X, and I witnessed that growing up. That how children felt was not a concern. Right? And it's like, you're not supposed to see that stuff. It was like degenerate. It was so degenerate. You know, in the clubs, people were shooting the clubs every week. Somebody would be shooting inside the clubs. I did not like the black community. It became too degenerate. Now, maybe if I was born around the 50s and 60s, I would have a different outlook. I was born in the late 70s. I was born in the era of hip hop. I was born when the black community really started going downhill. Okay? So, anyway, that'll be it, and I will talk later.